everybody. I was not planning on making this video right now, but the house is actually quiet. The kids are up the road at the neighbors. Today is the first official full day of summer break 2023. And I've already been through a few of these, more and one official one from Starbucks. It's gonna have to get my energy levels on all the neighbor kids here all the time levels here soon. So we are packing and getting ready to go out of town to see family, but it was quiet. So I was like, I'm going to, I'd missed a couple days on uploading these, how I was wanting to do the topics from the Secrets of Yarn Spinning ebook. So here's a real quick topic for you. Today's topic was going to be woolen versus worsted. And while, yes, I do have a ton of, I have a lot of videos already on YouTube showing woolen versus worsted. So if you've gotten to this point and you're new to my channel and you're like, I want to see actual spinning, not just this lady talking, go look at the rest of my channel on the playlist for how-tos. There's a lot. And then also on, if you really want to get official, my Dream Yarn course on my website has like literal step-by-step breakdowns of the different fiber preps I'm about to talk about, how you use them on the wheel for woolen versus worsted, why you would want to, etc., etc. So this is going to be more of a, sometimes I feel like when I'm spinning and trying to explain things, it's easier to get more caught up on like the spinning part of it than the actual explaining part of it. So I wanted to explain real. And of course, my luck, the kids just got home, but I'm going to continue on with this video because it's already on my brain now. So I wanted to have a video where I could actually kind of explain without actually showing what I was doing, woolen versus worsted, because it gets a little confusing. Because if you are a knitter or a crocheter and you're used to going to like Michael's or Hobby Lobby or yarn store, you are used to the word worsted being a size, like between sport weight and what's bigger than worsted? Bulky weight. So you're used to worsted being a size of yarn. And then when you start spinning, worsted becomes a type of yarn, and it can also be a size of yarn. So you could technically spin a worsted style, worsted size yarn, if that makes any sense. Doesn't make any sense, but that's how it goes. So worsted basically means, okay, let me start with woolen. Woolen is another style of yarn, and it's what I think of as more of the lofty, old-fashioned, looks more like hand-spun type of yarn. So to me, if you're going, I prefer woolen, I think. Most of my yarns are what's referred to as a semi, which is official yarn people talk for, you didn't do it quite right. So those are my favorites, or semis. But woolen is an official woolen yarn, to my understanding, and from what I've read and been taught, is when you are spinning from a woolen style prep. So then that's the other part, is there's the yarn, and then there's the fiber prep. And the fiber prep for an official woolen style yarn, and I'm sure there will be a lot of people that post under this video and are like, well actually, and I'm sure somewhere somebody has said something else that is not this, but from my great understanding of what everybody else has always told me, an official woolen prep yarn is spun from a rollog or a circular fiber prep. So if you want to come up with some other circular fiber prep, there's a name for it I don't know about, then sure. But I'm going to say rollog, because that's when you take a blending board and you blend up the fibers, or you're using, basically you're just taking the fiber and it's getting rolled into, they look like little cigars. So the fibers are already, in however you prepped it, going in a circle. So then when you're spinning it, for woolen, you're pulling it back. And so the fibers are going to come out, and as the twist from the wheel gets in the fibers, they're already in a circular configuration. So you end up with more air basically trapped in the yarn in the middle. So you get like this nice kind of fuzzy, fluffy, lofty yarn. And that's woolen, because it's already coming out circular. And so that would obviously work best if your fiber prep was a woolen style fiber prep. Like I said, like a rollog or a giant rollog bat. We've sold some of those. But where the fibers are already circular. Worsted is the opposite of that. And that is traditionally thought that you would want to spin that from a like roving or anything where all, like, because if you unbraid a fiber braid and you just look at a piece of roving, all the fibers are kind of like laying on top of each other like this. So they're not like this, they're like that. And so with worsted style spinning, you're pulling it forward, and so when you pull the fiber, when you're drafting, when you're pulling it forward, you're pulling the fiber flat. You're pulling it flat, and so the twist goes into it while it's flat. So worsted style spinning from a worsted style prep. I'm doing all the parentheses because, like I said, I don't do either of these officially unless I'm really thinking about it. Is you're going to be pulling it forward and drafting this way, like kind of pinch and pull and pinch and pull. It's a shorter motion. Whereas woolen, you're going to have a roll log. That's where you usually see people doing the long draw, like back towards their hip. And it's much more of a longer, you can do one-handed long draw. You can do supported long draw, which is my favorite. So if you watch a lot of my videos and like I'm not teaching a particular, like, hey, we're teaching a lesson. If I'm just like spinning and it's like a gin and spin and I'm just spinning for fun, you usually see me doing what is a supported long draw method. And that's where I kind of pinch and then I do a longer pull back towards my hip. I'm of course doing this up here now so you can see with the camera. But that's a supported long draw method, and that's just versus trying to do it with one hand. I feel like I can do it with the right. If I have a roll log, it is easier to do it with just one hand. Like I said, I like spinning kind of a semi of both. I spin a lot of bats and I spin a lot of roving, and so those are technically worsted style fiber preps because the fibers are all like that. And then I like to do a supported long draw spin, which is supporting it with, here, I'm trying to find the camera. I'm always confused where the camera is on this. I'm trying to find that, and then pulling it back. So this hand's supporting basically the fiber, and then this is doing the draft. Because I'm drafting in a long way, the twist is still getting into it. It's less, I'm still getting that air in it. Whereas if I was doing a true worsted style spinning, I would be pulling it forward, smoothing it back, pulling it forward, much more of a pinch, pull, pinch, pull, pinch, pull, which to me is much more like a drop spindle. So if you are currently a drop spindler, and especially if you're doing the park and draft method, you're probably used to doing much more of a pinch, pull, pinch, pull, kind of with your drop spindle. So if you're a drop spindler, you're already probably more on the worsted side of things as far as style, which is one of the reasons I like spinning wheel, because my favorite way to spin is much more of a long draw, which, like I said, go click around on my channel. You will see millions of examples of me doing just that. So in review, worsted is a size of yarn between bulky and like DK/sport. So it's a size. It is also a type of yarn, which is the more compressed, smoother. I would recommend doing more of a worsted, more compressed. Basically, it's more well behaved. So think of it that way. Worsted singles are going to be smoother, flatter, more well behaved. If you were going to spin a like chain ply it and you wanted a real nice, compact, even, beautiful, show off the colors yarn, worsted might be the way you want to go, because it's going to ply. If you have a long strand of like well-behaved condensed yarn and then you ply it on itself, it's obviously going to be less lumpy, bumpy, and weird than if you have kind of a lofty, slightly thick and thin, crazy yarn and then you try to chain ply it, which I do all the time because that's just me. You end up with a little bit more size variation. So that's a thing. And yes, I like spinning if I'm doing two-ply because I like a little bit of texture. I do that worsted, semi-wool, like kind of worsted prep woolen spinning, and you get a little bit more variation in it. Woolen, if you're trying to spin something that you want a real fluffy, hey, this is hand spun, like it screams, I'm hand spun from across the room. I like woolen. It's just really fun, and I find it's more flowy, which is just how I enjoy spinning. So with me, it's basically you're either spinning, and this is another thing we go over in the Dream Yarn course, you can either spin a yarn with like a project final thing in mind. Like I want well-behaved, well-defined yarn because I'm going to knit a cable scarf, and so I want my cables to be popping. So I want this well-defined stitch definition in my cables, so I'm going to do a woolen spun yarn. Not woolen, worsted spun yarn. And or if your final product is like, I want to look like a fairy princess with, a big floofy whatever, then woolen might, if you're channeling that boho vibe, go woolen. Or if you're just spinning yarn for the hell of it, you can also just look at the fiber. And I always refer to it as letting this fiber speak to you. So you look at the fiber, if it's a braid or a bat or a roll-log or a pile of fluff in your lap and you're just going to put it all together, a braid I feel like is definitely going to be the most well-behaved, like roving braid for worsted. I always get the two confused for worsted. If you have like a pile of fluff in your lap and it's like more raw wool, not raw, or a bat or something really arty, I would do more woolen. So I think that's enough rambling. Please go check out the rest of the videos on this YouTube channel, and you can see lots of examples of all of those. You should be able to just, like I said, look through the how-tos section and just look for buzzwords like worsted or woolen, long draw. Those would all be titles you would want to look for, and you can see much more spinning just like that. If you would like step-by-step with homework situation and a real breakdown on not just like what the fiber preps are, but like how you would actually prep the wool for those fiber preps, and much more into like yarn design of like what I was just talking about, of like looking at what you're trying to make versus looking at the supplies and just making what you want, then I would definitely check out my Dream Yarn course. It is $8, so you can't really go wrong with that. And I think I will probably have a coupon which will make it free for the first month. That will probably be somewhere around here, so look for that. And if not, it's $8, go. It's the same thing as like a Starbucks coffee. And it helps keep us going around here. And I also have Drop Spindle course, my just spinning the basics. Yeah, I've got some like standalone, just one-time purchase courses too. So anyhow, YouTube channel, the Yarn Cult section on my website. Ooh, I always forget about that. There's a free members-only content section on my website on the same page as the courses, and it's labeled Yarn Cult, and we add a lot of good free stuff there. It's like free courses, so go check that out. It's free. Have a good one.